This is my first video update on this Saturday morning, coming to you from Larnaca, Cyprus. Larnaca is this very beautiful, picturesque, very historic beach town in Cyprus. It is actually the place where you will most likely fly in if you do visit Cyprus. It is home to the main international airport. It's about a 30-minute drive, give or take, from Larnaca to the capital city of Nicosia. About an hour drive to the other main beach city of Limassol. But Larnaca gets very little promotion, even though it is a really nice place. Very historic, very interesting setup as well, because you have an old town which is right on the beach, like a historic old town, right on the beach, to an area known as Finikudes, with a lot of palm trees and restaurants and cafes. And then it's got a new area of town known as Mackenzie Beach. And I'll try to take everybody around Larnaca for the next couple of days. I've done videos from here before. This is also the final resting place of Saint Lazarus. The Lazarus that was risen from the dead by Jesus. This is where he actually passed away for a final time. But anyway, let's talk about some news, because we have got a lot of news to discuss. And the big story, the very, very big story, is the attack on the Kerch Bridge in Crimea. Oh, what's going on here? All right, so something's going on. Let's see. No idea what this is, but it's loud. The colors are Ukraine flag colors, but I don't see any flags. So I'm thinking this is something else. Even though the colors are blue and yellow, I'm leaning towards some other organization. I do see a flag of some sort of club or something. Anyway, all right. So we hit upon a very, very, very small parade. Very small parade here in Larnaca. So the Kerch Bridge. This is big. This is big because the attack on the Kerch Bridge, if you look at the videos and the photos, it was significant. I mean, this is not like a small time attack. This looked pretty significant. And let me just read you what RT is saying at the moment here on this Saturday morning. By the time I get this video up, things may change. We may get some more information, but for the moment, via RT, this is what we know. The bridge that connects the Crimean Peninsula with mainland Russia has been damaged by a truck bombing, the National Anti-Terrorism Committee said on Saturday. Officials said that the blast, which occurred shortly after 6 a.m. local time, caused a partial collapse of the road on the vehicle section. It also triggered a blaze on a freight train on the parallel rail section, with 7 fuel tanks catching fire. The arch above the shipping section of the bridge has not been damaged, the committee added. An unverified video appears to show the moment of the blast. A video from the scene that was posted on social media appears to show the fuel tank fire and the damage to the road. Nikolai Lukashenko, the acting regional transport minister, told reporters that the authorities are considering launching a ferry service, the 19-kilometer, 11.8-mile bridge, which runs across the Kerch Strait and connects Crimea with mainland Russia, consists of a railway section and a vehicle section. It became fully operational in 2020. So this is the main bridge. This is the main bridge. Like, this is very symbolic for Russia. This is the bridge that is connecting Crimea to the Russian mainland, to the Russian Federation mainland. And this is not an accident. I think we can conclusively say this is no accident. RT even said in the opening paragraph, damaged by a truck bombing. That's what we know, a truck bombing. So I imagine some sort of terrorist act. And we have a statement from Ukrainian spokesman Podolyak. And he has kind of, I don't want to say Ukraine has officially claimed responsibility for the terrorist act, for this explosion. But indirectly, he's hinting at some sort of Ukrainian success in attacking the Kerch Bridge. This is what Podolyak said. The blast that rocked the Crimean bridge early Saturday is, quote, just the beginning, Ukrainian President Zelensky's aide Mikhail Podolyak has said. Quote, Crimea, the bridge, the beginning, Podolyak tweeted. Everything illegal must be destroyed. Everything stolen must be returned to Ukraine. Everything occupied by Russia must be expelled. In August, Podolyak said that Europe's largest bridge should be destroyed because it's an illegal construction and the main gateway to supply the Russian army in Crimea. Keep that in mind. The main gateway to supply the Russian army in Crimea. Zelensky and other members of his team have also stated that Ukraine will use force to retake Crimea, which overwhelmingly voted to reunite with Russia in a referendum in 2014. So it's not a direct claim of responsibility from Ukraine. So we have to be careful what we say, but this is not a coincidence. This is not some sort of accident or some sort of coincidence or something like that. You could see that the attack on Crimea provides the collective West and the Zelensky regime with a double victory in a way. It's like a double win. What do I mean by that? First, it's a symbolic hit. It's a symbolic structure, and taking out that structure, the bridge that connects Crimea to Russia, it's very symbolic. So taking that out is a symbolic victory for Ukraine. But it's also a military win. And let me read you a Telegram post. Let me pull it up here. From Brian at The New Atlas. If you're not following his Telegram, I strongly recommend that you do. And I will put a link to this Telegram post as well. I'm now in the Marina Square of Larnaca. Let me get into some shade here because it's another hot one in Cyprus. Well into October and it's still plus 30 something. Anyway, this is what Brian said with his Telegram post after the fire on the Crimea bridge. Ukraine is launching all-out offensives on Kherson and at the edges of northern Donbass. They are also waiting to launch what they hope is an offensive to cut Kherson forces off from the Donbass through Zaporozhye. The timing of this fire on the Kerch Bridge is highly suspicious, considering cutting through Zaporozhye would never fully sever the two regions if traffic over the Kerch Bridge was still flowing. Maybe it was an accident, still waiting for all details, as well as reports on the full extent of the damage, but terrorism toward the bridge was a high priority for Kiev and its sponsors, and a reminder of how Russia itself is under attack and by an enemy willing to do anything to do so. Now, let me just get that quote once again from Podolyak. the quote that he put out in August, where he said Europe's largest bridge should be destroyed because it's an illegal construction and the main gateway to supply the Russian army in Crimea. The main gateway to supply the Russian army in Crimea. Now, it's no secret to anybody, that Ukraine is about to launch a very big offensive in the south, most likely Zaporozhye. This is no secret to anybody. We all know it. It's Zaporozhye or Kherson. It's going to be a big offensive. Very big. This is going to be the big push to take Kherson City. It's going to be a little loud because of the water, but it's a nice fountain, isn't it? It's going to be a very big offensive. It's going to be the big push to get into Zaporozhye, perhaps even to move towards Kherson City as well. And this is going to be the offensive that the collective West is hoping is going to lead to the downfall of Russian President Vladimir Putin, the regime change, which is the ultimate goal. Never forget that everything that is happening now, whether it's the Kerch Bridge, whether it's the preparation for this offensive, whether it's talk about tactical nukes, all of this stuff, everything that is going on has one goal and only one goal, and that is the removal of Russian President Putin. That's it. Regime change. This is the goal. Let me jump here and cross over. So, this is a big play. This is a big play, taking out the Kerch Bridge, and it's a symbolic hit. And it's also an indication that the offensive might be starting up very, very soon, because as Brian points out, as Podolyak pointed out in August, you got to take out the Kerch Bridge in order to hamper supplies to your forces in the south. And that appears to be what the Ukraine military has done. Now, Russia is saying that they're going to, the officials in Crimea, they're saying that they're going to get ferries to help people cross over the two regions, but ferries for civilians, yeah. Ferries in order to defend against a massive Ukraine offensive? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work. So, big development. The Washington Post, they read an article the other day, and they said that they have anonymous sources in the Kremlin, because they have anonymous sources everywhere. But they have anonymous sources in London, in DC, in the Kremlin. Anyway, they ran an article saying that the Kremlin is in turmoil. That is a quote. The Kremlin is in turmoil. A member of Vladimir Putin's inner circle has voiced disagreement directly to the Russian president over the conflict in Ukraine. The report stated from the Washington Post, alleging that the criticism marks the clearest indication yet of turmoil within Russia's leadership. No source was given. This is an anonymous source, and it was attributed to information obtained by U.S. intelligence. So U.S. intelligence is saying that they have a guy inside the Kremlin who wants Putin out, and they relayed that to the Jeff Bezos Washington Post, the Jeff Bezos-owned Washington Post. Now, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, he told reporters that that disagreement with regards to this Washington Post article, that disagreement between Putin and his aides is part of the usual working process. Quote, there are working arguments about the economy, about the conduct of the military operation. There are arguments about the education system. This is part of the normal working process, and it is not a sign of any split, he said, adding that the information supposedly obtained by American intelligence is absolutely not true. Information war, the narrative. The Kremlin is in turmoil. That is the narrative. People inside the Kremlin are upset. They're starting to doubt Vladimir Putin's leadership. That's the narrative. That's what the Washington Post is saying. People inside the Kremlin doubt Vladimir Putin's leadership. They doubt the way Putin is handling the conflict. And so what would fuel this narrative even further? A big offensive towards Zaporozhye, towards Kherson, an attack, a successful attack on a strategically important and symbolically important Kerch Bridge, and the fact that the Kremlin, maybe to their credit, maybe they're being patient and wise, maybe to their discredit, I don't know, I think everyone has a different opinion on this, but the Kremlin continues to remain very, very quiet and continues to at the moment present a status quo position with regards to the conflict in Ukraine. In other words, it remains an SMO, and the Russian military is just going to continue to do what it does. Now, that may be a very wise decision. Maybe Russia is playing the long game. Maybe Russia is not taking the bait. Maybe, and most likely, what I believe is the most likely scenario, Russia is waiting to time a big offensive just right. They need to prepare. They need to get everything in position. And they're waiting for the timing of what will be a very big and decisive offensive in Ukraine. I don't know, that could be what's going on as well. But the reality at this moment in time is that the collective West is going full speed ahead to create the dynamics for a regime change in Moscow. Full speed ahead. They're going all in. And they're going to throw everything Ukraine has, military-wise, towards the front in Kherson and Zaporozhye. They're going to throw everything they have towards destroying strategic and symbolic structures like the Kerch Bridge in Crimea. And they're going to throw everything they have with regards to their soft media power advantage in order to engineer this regime change in Russia. That's what this is all about. And the reality on the ground right now, if you're looking at it from Russia's perspective, at this moment, the reality is that the Russian Federation has been attacked. You've had a terrorist attack on the Russian Federation with this attack on the Kerch Bridge. That's indisputable. If this does prove to be a terrorist attack, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I would say 99% this is a terrorist attack. I mean, I read you the article from RT, but I just don't want to get too far ahead. But if everything goes as we think it's going to go with regards to this attack on the Kerch Bridge, then the Russian Federation has been attacked indeed. It has been attacked. Its critical infrastructure has been attacked. And if you're looking at things from the Russian side, their territory, Lugansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhye, and Kherson, is occupied by a foreign military and is currently being invaded. This is the reality of the situation at this moment. I'm not saying there isn't a plan. I'm not saying there isn't a plan. I'm not saying there is a plan. I don't know. I don't have any information, any additional information that you don't have either. I mean, no one knows what the plan is, if there is a plan, and what that plan is. Obviously, the Kremlin knows all of these things that I'm saying. They understand everything that's going on. I would imagine they have a much, much better view of everything that's going on. And I'm sure they know a million more things about the real situation on the ground that me and you know. So, everything that we're saying is just, we're analyzing and we're speculating on open source public information. But that is the situation. I mean, at this moment in time, this is where we find ourselves. and this is a significant escalation. If this is indeed a terrorist attack, and if it is indeed backed by the Ukraine government, or even further backed by the collective West and NATO, and there have been a lot of collective West leaders. I believe, I don't want to say Boris Johnson, but maybe I shouldn't say collective West leaders. I don't know. Let me know if collective West leaders have said that the Kerch Bridge needs to be taken out. But there are a lot of collective West voices and retired generals and analysts and perhaps people in leadership positions or influential positions in the collective West who have said that the Kerch Bridge is fair game. So I don't want to be misquoted there either, but this has been something that the collective West has been floating around for a while now, the attack on the Kerch Bridge. And it accomplishes two very important things for Ukraine. As I said, it accomplishes two very, very big things for Ukraine. And we're going to have to wait and see what the Russian response, if any, is going to be. And since we're on the topic of the collective West and their involvement in the conflict in Ukraine, let's shift gears and talk about Starlink, Elon Musk's Starlink, because all of a sudden, interestingly enough, it appears that Starlink is not working for the NATO proxy Ukraine military. Outages of the Starlink communication system have led to catastrophic loss of communication between Ukrainian troops as they battled Russian forces, the Financial Times reported on Friday. The news triggered concerns that Elon Musk may have done something to the service in response to Ukrainian denunciations of his peace plan, but the SpaceX magnate called FT's article bad reporting. Musk gave Ukraine thousands of Starlink terminals back in March, helping Kiev's military to operate drones, receive vital intelligence updates, and communicate with each other in areas where there are no other secure networks, as FT described it. In recent weeks, as Ukrainian forces moved into territory previously controlled by Russian forces, the systems stopped working on multiple occasions. One senior Ukrainian official told FT this led to a catastrophic loss of communication, including during pitched battles. Failures were widespread and prompted panicked calls from soldiers to helplines, another official said. Roman Sinitsyn, who runs a nonprofit that directs Starlinks to the Ukrainian military, said the problem may have been due to Musk's SpaceX having a block on the signal in Russian-held areas. It is absolutely clear to me that this is being done by representatives of Starlink to prevent the usage of their technology by Russian occupation forces, Sinitsyn told FT, urging SpaceX to coordinate more closely with the Ukrainian military. The Starlink systems were given to the Ukrainian military back in March so they could fight the war against Russia, given by Elon Musk back in March. Now, if he's giving these systems to the Ukrainian military, you know what that actually means. It means that he's been giving these systems to NATO and the Pentagon, the Defense Department. Let's not try to present this as Elon Musk trying to help a weaker Ukraine fight a stronger Russia. That's not what happened here. The Defense Department, the US government, NATO, of which Elon Musk has many businesses dependent on the US government, they told Musk. They may not have even told Musk. They simply just ordered Starlink and Musk to hand over Starlink infrastructure to the NATO command, who will then use the Starlink system to provide communication and surveillance to the Ukraine military. That is exactly what is going on here. And so Musk's tweets about Ukraine that he's been sending out now almost on a daily basis The other day, he tweeted a map of the actual election voting in Ukraine. I believe it was from 2010 or 2012 or something like that. This monument marks the spot where Armenian refugees fleeing persecution during the genocide of 1915 first landed in Cyprus. It represents the gratitude of the Armenian nation towards the people of Cyprus for their assistance and generosity to those refugees, and stands in memory of the countless victims of the Armenian genocide. Beautiful statue. Well done. Well done. Very nice. Cyprus, very nice, Larnica. What was I saying? Yeah, he's been tweeting out a lot of stuff with regards to Ukraine. It's like, well, he's red-pilling people on Ukraine and the truth about Ukraine. Yeah, absolutely. He is opening up a lot of eyes to the realities of why all of this is happening in Ukraine, why we have a conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and Russia and the collective West, really. No doubt about that. But behind Musk's geopolitical red pilling, I believe is a business concern, and that has to do with Starlink. That has to do with Starlink. The Financial Times is saying that Musk probably disabled Starlink. I think that's a bunch of BS. And the Financial Times knows it. I think Russia took out Starlink. Remember Shoigu during his interview after Putin announced the partial mobilization? Shoigu said that there are hundreds of satellites and communication systems, and we know where they all are, and we know what they're doing. And I think that the Russian military did something to take out the Starlink communication. That's simple, but the Financial Times can't say that. They can't say that because they just can't. They can't say that this communication system that the Pentagon relies on, which is going to rely on going forward for multiple conflicts in the future. I mean, they found a new toy in Starlink. They can't admit that Russia took this system out, right? Some palm trees. Here's like volleyball courts. They're a little bit in rough shape here, but still not bad at all. And we'll walk to the beach. Let's walk to the beach here. Yeah, the Financial Times, they can't say that Russia did this, so they're going to blame it on Musk. And actually, it works out perfectly for the collective West mainstream media to say that Musk actually disabled Starlink for Ukraine. Why? Very, very clever. Very clever. Very simple why. This actually works towards their advantage to say that Musk disabled Starlink, because Musk is now back on with buying Twitter. He's made no secret about the fact that he's going to turn Twitter into an anti-woke open source social media platform, and everyone is going crazy. The entire Democrat, globalist, cancel culture establishment is going absolutely crazy. And I imagine the deep state doesn't like the fact that Musk may have a different business model for Twitter. And so if they can, and they've tried everything to smear, but now they can call him a Putin shill. Now they can call him a Putin shill. Now they can say that Musk is actually helping Putin fight the war against Ukraine by turning off the Starlink satellites. But Musk, his business, Starlink was a party to the war. That's also fact. There's no way around it. And Lindsey Graham sent out a tweet. Actually, he was in like a little Twitter dispute with Musk over Ukraine and Russia. And Musk was tweeting all of this stuff about Ukraine and Russia. Lindsey Graham chimed in, and they got into this kind of Twitter debate. And Lindsey Graham actually threatened Musk. He said in one of his tweets, he said, while we're at it, maybe the Congress should revisit the electric vehicle tax credit boondoggle. It is where the credit is now solely benefiting electric vehicle manufacturers who have increased prices equal to the tax credit. It could be a good way to help save money by supplying those funds to assisting Ukrainians in defending their homelands. So even Lindsey Graham knows that that much of Elon Musk's businesses, from Tesla to SpaceX, Starlink, all that stuff, is highly dependent on the US government and the defense agencies and the Pentagon and all of this. He knows it. And that's why he threw that out there. For Musk, he said, Elon, shut your trap about Ukraine and Russia, or else we're going to pull your funding and your benefits. So, I think Elon, I think Musk, everyone that said that Musk was trying to get ahead of Russia taking out Starlink by tweeting all this stuff, I think that was the correct call. I think that's exactly what happened. Musk started to tweet all this stuff about Russia and Ukraine, all of these facts about Russia and Ukraine, because he understood that after the sabotage of Nord Stream, critical infrastructure once again, after the sabotage of Nord Stream, he knew that his satellites were fair game. He knew it. And he wanted to distance himself from the conflict. He wanted to make it look like he's taking a neutral stance. When we know, I mean, I read it out to everybody. We know that since March, Starlink has been an active part. That infrastructure has been a critical, active part of the conflict in Ukraine. So that's what's going on there. Let me do one more story and we'll get to a clown world. And this is an update with regards to Zelensky's statement that he made via video call to an Australian think tank. And he was talking about a preemptive strike against Russia during this think tank Q&A session that was taking place. And everyone flipped out. In the collective West, especially, the Kremlin, they jumped on this and they said, you see what we're talking about? Ukraine, Zelensky, they've been wanting nukes forever now. And Lavrov actually came out with a statement and he said yesterday, Zelensky called on his Western masters to deliver a preemptive nuclear strike on Russia. In doing so, the Ukrainian leader showed to the entire world the latest proof of the threats that come from the Kiev regime. Lavrov said Russia's special military operation had been launched to neutralize those threats. Lavrov also dismissed as laughable an attempt to downplay Zelensky's words made by his press secretary, Sergei Nikiforov. Now, the minute Zelensky talked about a preemptive nuclear strike against Russia, his communication department, they came out with a statement saying that Zelensky misspoke. He misspoke. He didn't want to say a preemptive nuclear strike on Russia now. What he really wanted to say was that before February 24th, before the special military operation, the collective West should have engaged in a preemptive strike against Russia so as to not invade Ukraine. That was the communication department of Ukraine's line. That's what they said Zelensky originally wanted to say. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's what his communication department said. Pretty much a few hours after he made this statement. Now Lavrov, what he's saying is 1,000% correct. Because we know that Zelensky was talking about getting nuclear weapons well before the February 24th special military operation kicked off. We have it on record. We have a speech from Zelensky during the Munich Security Conference where Zelensky was talking about how Ukraine is going to get nukes and should get nukes. He was saying it. He said it in a speech. Ukraine is going to get nukes and it should get nukes. And he was talking it up throughout this entire week-long conference in Munich, which was attended by Kamala Harris, Olaf Scholz, Ursula von der Leyen. All of these people were there in attendance. And they were listening to Zelensky go on and on and on about how Ukraine should get nukes and it's going to get nukes. And this is 3 weeks before the SMO was launched. And when the Russians heard Zelensky say this, they said, that's it. This guy wants nukes. He wants to get nuclear weapons. In the collective West, they're not telling him to shut up. They're actually kind of okay with it, it seems, because Harris and Schultz and van der Crazy, they didn't tell Zelensky to shut up. So, their silence was interpreted as support for Ukraine getting nuclear weapons. And that's what Lavrov is pointing out here. And now he has the proof, once again, in Zelensky's statements during this video conference with this think tank in Sydney. Now, the BBC, they were called up by the deep state. The UK state media, the British state media channel known as the BBC, they were activated to provide some cover for Zelensky. And they organized an interview with Zelensky, which took place on Friday, so that he can explain himself with regards to this preemptive nuclear strike statement. And this is what Zelensky told the BBC. So the deep state, NATO, they tell the BBC, okay, we need to walk this back. Call up Zelensky, arrange an interview, and let's get the excuses. Let's get the walk back moving. So this is what Zelensky said. The Ukraine president tells the BBC that he said, and I'm quoting, preventive kicks, not preventive strikes. And he blames a translation error. Preventive kicks, K-I-C-K-S. Kicks as in, I kick you. That's what he said he meant. He didn't say preventive strikes. He said preventive kicks. Ukrainian President Zelensky insisted that his remarks about preemptive NATO nuclear strikes on Russia had been mistranslated. He really meant preventive kicks. He told the BBC in an interview that aired on Friday, with the British state broadcaster interpreting this as referring to sanctions. I said, you have to do preventive kicks, not attacks, Zelensky told BBC's John Simpson. What is a preventive kick? What does a preventive kick have to do with sanctions, politics, conflict, anything? Preventive kicks. NATO, US, Bidenopolis, before Russia invades Ukraine, you need to do preventive kicks against Russia. You need to do preventive kicks, not attacks. Boy, for all the multi-billions and billions of dollars that the collective West has with regards to propaganda and script writing and shaping narratives and all of these things, Putin must go, right? That's the new narrative that they're building. But for all of these billions, a limitless budget, this is the best they could do? This is the best they could do? Preventive kicks? Wow. Wow. Yeah, you have to preventively kick Russia. Kick them. Kick them hard. Yeah, it makes zero sense. That's the best they could come up with to explain away his preemptive nuclear strike. Now, why are they trying to cover up Zelensky's preventive strike nuclear strike statement? Well, I think two reasons. One of two. It's one of two. Maybe more, but I can only think of two right now as I'm walking on the beach. I can only think holding a camera and a backpack. Everyone's looking at me. What is this guy doing? I can only think of two reasons. The first reason is that the collective West, NATO, they really do not want to escalate on a nuclear level with Russia. They really are worried about a nuclear escalation. And so they want to send the message, send the signal out that that it's not happening, that Zelensky was just talking nonsense. He was talking off script. This wasn't sanctioned by the collective West, what he said. And yeah, that's it. They're just saying, look, this guy was talking nonsense. He actually meant something else, as stupid as it sounds. We all know that it's stupid, preventive kicks. But Russian military, Kremlin, you know what we're trying to signal to you. So that could be the first reason. The second reason that the BBC is running cover, and they've come up with this preventive kicks walk back, is a more terrifying reason. And that is that Zelensky let the cat out of the bag. He revealed what the collective West was planning to do, or hoping to goad Russia into doing, or something along those lines, some sort of false flag, or goading Russia into using a tactical nuke, or something along those lines. He revealed some sort of part of the collective West plan, and now they're trying to cover it up. So I think it's one of the two. Maybe there's more. Let me know in the comments down below if there's another reason why the BBC was quickly called up to walk back this statement. I mean, this was fast. You know, the deep state, they called up the BBC and they said, get on this right away. Get an interview with Zelensky right away. Zelensky, free up a couple of hours of your time and get to it. And let's walk this thing back. So let me know in the comments down below the reasons that you think this happened. So with that said, let's see. There's music down that way, so I'm going to avoid walking down that way. Let's walk back up this way. So let's do a clown world and we'll wrap this video up here. And this is a great clown world. It's a fantastic clown world. This was posted on my Telegram channel, a fantastic find. And how should I introduce this clown world? Let's see here. We've had the ghost of Kiev. We have had the ghost of Kiev. We have had the goat. We've had the goat of Kiev, right? We've had the goat. You know, that goat that managed to take out an entire Russian, I don't know, an entire Russian battalion, whatever the narrative was, something crazy, right? This goat that managed to fight the Russian military. We've had the Zaporozhye Avenger. Remember that guy? The Zaporozhye Avenger. We've had Snake Island. We've had Snake Island as well. Now we have, courtesy of the Daily Mail, we have an Australian soldier known as Ninja, who is going to Ukraine to help defeat Putin's army. And I'm putting the picture of Ninja up on the screen so everyone can see it. He has no plans to return home until Ukraine wins, according to the Daily Mail. So that is it. It's over for Russia. It's over for Putin. They've called in the big guns. Ninja is on his way from Australia. On his way from Australia to defeat Putin, according to the Daily Mail, thedailymail.co.uk. They uncover all of the good stories, don't they? Ninja. All right. So, with that being said, now that we have Ninja heading over to Ukraine, I imagine everything's going to be wrapped up within a week, because Ninja's going to land in Ukraine and he's going to have all those weapons at his disposal, nunchucks and stars and all kinds of other weapons, and he's going to to single-handedly defeat the entire Russian army, including the partial mobilization as well. So Ninja's on his way. I'm going to end this video, everybody. theduran.locals.com. Check out Alexander's channel. Check out the Duran's channel. Go to the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY. And Telegram, Rumble, ODYSEE, and BitChute. And Rockfin. Look for us on Rockfin. Follow us on Rockfin as well. Coming to you from Phoenikudes, Larnaca, Cyprus. An amazing city and an underrated, under-visited city. Take care.